You may be asking yourself, why Overanalyzing Avatar? Why have you come back to the show if you didn't like the first season? Not just didn't like, but couldn't really find even much to compliment it on. But I, dear viewer, believe in finishing what you started. I don't think season 2 is going to change my mind on this show. I can't even imagine any storylines I'm genuinely interested in, let alone a character. But is it not our beautiful mission as media watchers to consume explosively good animation and clap like a seal? Are these videos not my extended series of missives to try to expand my own horizons, to break down my own preconceived notions on anime, giving each title a real chance to change my mind? Is it not my machination and resigned expectation to really try and give this show a real genuine second shot, only to follow the end of this paragraph with the one solo leveling season 2 later joke, only to say once again they have fucked it? Why is this show so popular? Let's find out. Nope, it's even worse this time. They have truly fucked it. If this video is over 10 minutes long, I'll be stunned, because there is nothing to talk about in this show. Nearly the only thing to talk about is the lack of things to talk about, and how effortlessly mind-numbing it is. Let's bang the opening out right off the bat, just get that out of the way. I think it's the only thing that has improved since season 1. I like the music better, and I think that's about it. Well, maybe not. I couldn't find much of anything to glean out of the first opening in the sense of symbolism or interesting visuals past, wow, these all look really cool. And there is a lot more of that in this one, to be sure, but I find it interesting that so much of the opening is allotted to the characters that aren't Jinwoo. Am I crazy that they start calling him Jinu this season instead of Jinwoo? Because I was calling him Jinwoo last video for sure. Well, I'll change to calling him Jinu now, because one of my own little weird pet peeves is when reviewers don't pronounce names as the show pronounces them. I don't even care when the show pronounces them wrong compared to the real world or the sub. It just irks me when reviewers don't pronounce the name of the character in the show that they watched as the show pronounced it. It's like, did you even watch this shit? Anyway, my apologies for that. So back to the opening. The opening shows a lot more of the S-rank hunters off, even though, as we'll discuss later, even when they're on screen, the show is not about them. The show almost isn't even depicting characters when they're on screen. But I suppose the idea of just showing Jinu blow up monsters for 90 seconds could get to be a little overwhelming and doesn't really lend itself to the rising action that anime openings tend to have. Unlike the previous opening, where my skill and perception was simply too weak to see anything more than flashy visuals, here we actually have some symbolism to talk about. We start out with Jinu eating a pomegranate. The pomegranate is a classic symbol of many things being encapsulated by a larger whole. Here it represents Jinu's many battles as he wipes the juice from his mouth and it smears across his face like blood. The violence that he's committed as he's accrued all of his XP through bloodshed. Alright, not a bad start. Later, there's the shot of him being on top of the building he looked at to start out, obviously showing growth, rising to the top of a great imposing structure. But then there's this weird little split-second edit of him standing on top of a mountain of demonic bodies. Now, in a show with something to say, this would imply a feeling of perhaps regret for committing such violence, even though it got him to the height that he's reached. An internal struggle of some kind. But in this show, no, it's just to show how many monsters he's killed, that's all. As the opening closes out, there's these images of flowers growing from animal skeletons, followed by a shot of his former, weaker, loser, idiot self surrounded in these flowers, and his new so cool, badass version of himself standing over it. You do not need a degree, because I don't have one, to see that this is a ham-fisted metaphor of something dying to allow something to grow. And there could be some deeper meaning to this visual once again, don't you think? Isn't there a circle of life point to be made here outside of anime boy gets to be really, really cool? Like, just from the visuals alone, I mean. Maybe all the video game monsters he's killed are affecting the world in a way he can't imagine. Maybe he has to think about the idea that his mother may really be gone and the elixir of life may not work, but in her death, maybe he could find a new emotional strength, a different kind of power. Even if it doesn't happen, it could be something that a character could have to think about and have it be an interesting struggle, right? Alright, let's drop the idea of talking about the opening. I seem to be breaking into other points. I like the music better, and the visuals are also nice. It's better than last one, but I still don't like it. Okay, let's talk about the biggest problem in this show, and it's such an all-encompassing problem that it's almost like just talking about the show in general. Jinu is the most boring main character I've ever seen in anything ever. And I paused for a couple of minutes while writing this to think to myself, is that last sentence I just wrote down hyperbole? Was Nana from Nanaland more boring? Well, certainly not. She had a natural and thriving curiosity for the world. It was very endearing. What about the critic from The Critic? He's a pretty schlubby dude, not very animated. No, he had what some might call an acerbic wit. I wouldn't, but you might. When I think on Jinu feels like an alien that is trying desperately to fit in with humans and has noticed that some humans are generally emotionless and stoic and thought, fucking jackpot, I'll just do that. The worst part of it is that his character arc is to get more boring. In the first few episodes, he's this weak, timid loser, sure, but at least there's something in him that you can see is human. He's nice and quiet and doesn't want to step on anyone's toes, but still does really dangerous stuff for the sake of his family. It's not an inspired character by any means. He's not very interesting to start out, but at least he feels like he has traits that can be tested or needs to work on. Season 2 was actually giving me some perverse appreciation for for season 1, because at least in the first half of that one, before he came basically untouchable, at least he still had some self-doubt and some fire in his belly, thinking that every new challenge was important. But now in this season, he's so completely arbitrarily powerful, nothing is a challenge anymore. And because of that, he doesn't even feel human. And put your fingers away, I already know people who want to defend this shit already type in comments, well, actually, he's not exactly human. If you were paying attention to the show, you would have heard multiple times that he isn't a normal human. I know, man. That's not what I'm saying, obviously. Ji-Nu feels like he is an anime robot that is just set to the highlight reel setting. I swear, and I know people are going to get on me about watching the dub, but I defy you to tell me that with this writing and with how this character is, that it is any different in the original language. I counted less than 10 lines in this season that Ji-Nu delivers in anything above his normal droning register of, oh, okay, that's cool. And it doesn't count when they give him the edgelord filter on his voice that might actually deduct points of anything. How can you be interested in a character that simply stares forward and whatever crosses his almighty gaze, he is effortlessly over-prepared for? The obvious counter-argument is that Ji-Nu was doing all this for his mom and even breaks down crying after she wakes up from her coma. But this story has executed absolutely nothing with this character to actually have this breakdown feel genuine. I read an article headline, can you imagine this, when this season came out, that people were mad that he started crying because it ruined his aura. First point, it's insane that I saw that in a headline at a time where I wasn't even interacting with anime, just in the wild. How popular is this show? Second point, you people are insane to be mad about that. Do you want a character that doesn't care about his own mother, that would be cold and stoic after she emerges healthy from a coma after years? Would you not be crying like a baby? Are you that insecure with your own masculinity that you don't allow yourself to feel happiness? Are you crazy? Third point, I'm mad at the scene for the entire opposite reason than those people. Why are you crying? What is this? You don't cry, you don't feel, you don't anything. You just go, or I'm gonna kill you. When a character feels nuanced on screen, I leave a lot more room for a character to feel even more nuanced off screen, because you can't just assume everything about them and be certain you're correct. If there were a few scenes about Ji-Nu and his sister worrying about their mom openly, actually discussing it, not just bringing it up as a fact, then maybe this scene would be warranted. Because what a terrible thing, right? Your mother hovering on the cliff between life and death for years. That would eat away at a person, especially a young person. Why not have a few scenes where his sister breaks down about it? Give him all the more reason to pursue his goal even more fervently. Have him talk about how much she means to him, or share some flashbacks of their childhood. Do anything to make me feel the love a son has for his mother and a brother has for his sister. 2 or 3 scenes interspersed among all the looking at screens and going, cool, and killing goblins, and I would have had a much smaller problem with this scene than I do. Those scenes do not exist. So now, in a scene, a fantasy for anyone, being able to repay your parents for all they've done for you in such an obvious, gigantic way, falls completely flat. Because I don't know anything about their relationship. All I've heard from this lanky plank of wood is that he's worried like a couple times. Yeah, you're probably worried about global warming in the back of your head too, you complete lacking. Fuck me. And this is his actual entire motivation, to get the ingredients for this potion so he can save his mom. Even if there was a sense of urgency to his quest, that might be something. If every time he has to take a break because he's not strong enough, he thinks to himself, shit, I need to be stronger so I can save mom. Maybe he has a scene where he has to retreat and has to think, I don't know how much time my mom has left. I need to be better. Even if there was some of that, this scene might feel better, but there's nothing, no tenacity in the name of his mother's health. The show is too consumed in making him seem cool and collected and nonchalant. Any level of actually caring about something betrays what they're going for. Whenever it comes to pushing that quest forward, the delivery is dry, uninterested, clinical almost, just like reading off the grocery list. Yeah, I know, it's a dub, but like I said, if you tell me it's better than the sub, I'll go look, and if it's better, I'll eat my words, but I bet you can't tell me that. I honestly think it might be less of a problem in the sub because people don't understand the language. I want to make a bigger point about this at some point down the line, but I don't think the sub dialogue in nearly anything I've watched is strikingly better than the dub. I think it's very easy to fool yourself into thinking that it is, though, because you literally don't understand what's being said, so you can fill in the weaker parts in your brain. And that's probably a giant reason why anime is so much like it is, so over-the-top expressive, because to the Western watcher, which we know is a very sizable market, a market that doesn't know the language, most of the character comes through the way they express themselves emotionally through their voice, not through actual words. Sorry, spun off into a different thought there. Back to Ji-Nu. So I kind of get it a little bit in a weird way, what those people were saying, that those articles were written about. Why is this guy crying? They're right, he's just a machine that does anime shit and says unimpressed lines. Why would Ji-Nu be crying? This show has not told me why, other than banking on the fact that a son should intrinsically care deeply for his mother. That's great. Could you imagine if in Breaking Bad the show just hand-waved Walter's deep insecurities about his own masculinity and ability to provide for his family, and they just went, yeah, you get it. This whole thing with Ji-Nu and his mother is written so poorly it almost hurts my head. And like I said, that was his motivation, though it never feels like it outside of the moments where he pulls up his screen screen and talks about her for 5 seconds. Jinu's real motivation for the viewer really is to go into the gates and fight new big monsters so they can have cool animation and check off an ever-shrinking list of people he can do it in front of so the show can keep having people be completely floored by his abilities and he can look so cool. Looking so cool is the one thing this show really had going for it, according to me. I said when the show tries to look good, it knocks it out of the park. In season 1, the show looked phenomenal on multiple occasions. Season 2 continues to look good, but a very large problem has popped up. Can you call animation good if you can't follow it on a first watch? I don't think so. The first time you watch something, it's likely going to be the time it has the biggest impact on you, so you want everything to be perfect. If I can't follow the action, all it becomes is a bunch of meaningless color and motion on screen. I don't think most of the action in season 2 of the show is good for this very reason. I know the show wants to capture the speed and power of all these superhumans and demons doing these incredible things, but what's the point if you can't actually see the choreography? Don't get me wrong, this animation is still incredible in a technical sense. This was clearly done by insanely skilled artists that worked painstakingly to make it look like this. So maybe I can't say it's not good, because it is good. It has to be, because look at it, it's insane. Maybe what I'm trying to say is that it's not effective. It's good, but it's not effective. What made me think of it first was the opening and this shot. After watching the opening 5+ times, I could kind of follow what the Demon King was doing, but then the problem even gets worse when Jinu comes in. It's impressive, but I don't care much about a blur. Almost none of the action hit for me in this season because it's so fast and so flashy. It doesn't feel like there's much substance when you're watching it for the first time. There's probably a lot to appreciate when you can know what to look for and be prepared for it, but fights aren't fun when you can't tell what the hell is going on for a large portion of them, especially on a first viewing. I very rarely throw around terms like, I don't know, fucking sucks, because I like to think that most things have some redeeming qualities, and I always go to my way to try to highlight them when I can, so it has to be a really harsh imbalance of good to bad for me to say something is just terrible. This season has convinced me that this is a terrible TV show, and I want to put the emphasis on TV show there. Here, I'll do it. TV show. It's a terrible TV show because if you watch any of it, you've watched all of it. The first season has the benefits of having to explain the world and the system to you and watching Jinu grow to this utterly boring, overpowered husk of a character. At least there's something going on in that season. There's a story being told on some level. Season 2 of this show is just terrible television. It's the same thing over and over. There will be some situation and Jinu will be there as backup or as a guest or maybe not even be there at all or be in some role where he's not expected to do much, and then the situation will become dire somehow. Oh no, the gate is red. Oh no, this one is much more dangerous than we thought. Oh no, what are we gonna do? And then Jinu steps in, flawlessly destroys all semblance of danger without breaking a sweat, and the slack-jawed onlookers gaze in his immaculate brilliance, cawing like roosters at the badass anime warrior son they could have never imagined. Repeat this every 2 to 3 episodes until the season is finished. What should we do with the rest of the season? Well, spend 90% of it on the other characters talking about how potentially cool Jinu is, or how cool they just discovered he is, or how much cooler he's become because they already knew how cool he was. And you know what? Sprinkle in some of the super cute hot chick who should be mega competent in her own right in every situation according to what the show has told me, and make her be weird and weak and blushing and silently in love with him because he's just so cool. Actually, now that I think about it, just do that with every female character. Yeah, that'll take care of them. They're hard to write. And then in your final percentages, spend that on talking about the ants and how scary the ants are and how we're gonna kill all the ants. It's gonna be great. But here's the thing, solo leveling writer. None of the ant stuff matters because the viewer already knows how the show works. You've shown them already. The ant situation will get really bad and then Jinu will swoop in and save the day, and it'll be the best, most exciting one of all because it's the top of the ladder, right? Jinu worked his way to the tippy top. He impressed the B ranks and the A ranks and the governments, and now in the season finale he gets to fight in front of the S ranks, who all get to stand there and be amazed, and it'll be better because we've told you that they are stronger than everyone else and therefore it's more impressive. You guys ever play that old board game Mousetrap, where you set the Rube Goldberg machine up and it catches the mouse with the trap? And it seems so sick because, like, holy shit, look at how much stuff's going on, and then it catches the mouse. But then you realize after a few attempts that no matter how flashy the steps are, no matter how complicated they are, every celebration of catching the mouse with the insane contraption becomes less rewarding because all it does is catch the fucking mouse. It's frustrating. Last season there was some amount of time used up to talk up the S rank hunters. They're supposed to be a big deal, and we never get to see them do anything at all of note. Nothing. They train against each other, cool, and they get to contemplate about how strong each other are, but they just go to the alien ant farm and do all right, but then they get their shit rocked. And I gotta tell you, I still don't know anyone's names. And I'm paying attention over here. I know this guy's named the Ultimate Weapon because it's so memorably lame. Side note, now this guy's a really big deal, right? So he's gonna have a nice watch, and it's a gold watch with a white dial, which there's no lack of in nice watches. But the Jubilee bracelet is interesting. It's a little much for my taste with the yellow gold. It's kind of a lot to look at if you ask me. Probably a Rolex Skydweller nowadays. Then again, he's a pretty slender guy. The 42mm case would probably fit him a lot larger than this. Maybe it's just a Rolex date just then. Yeah, that seems right. These S-rank hunters are all here, as I mentioned, to serve one purpose: to think about Jinoo and to have the audience think they're cool, so Jinoo is so much cooler when he surpasses them. That is their only role in the story, which is pretty hacky, boring, unoriginal writing. So much so that it's pretty unignorable, and that's saying something in a medium like this, where writers use the Worf effect like it's their entire personality. The Worf effect is, of course, when an established character of great strength is defeated by a new threat to easily show the new threat's strength, which is used constantly in anime. But it's literally all this show ever does to build stakes. There's more than just that in the way of bad writing. Muscles over here is literally only here because he's angry. He's mad at Jinoo for existing. That's it. He has no motivation other than he's mean. And his only actual place in the story is to be talked up, be told to you that he's strong, so he can then be one-shotted by Jinoo's dad to show that Jinoo's dad is strong. Can you see how none of this is actually even a written story? These are just the same combinations of elements set up and paid off in nearly the same way over and over. And the show banks on the fact that there are higher letter rankings attached to the actions to be enough to get the audience to believe that the actions are actually cooler or more important. Another example of this lame-ass writing, in the same vein of the super cute hot chick being more of a damsel than an actual confident character in her own right. So the healer guy shows up in an episode or two before they go to the anthill, and he's just this really likable guy who drinks and has a good time. Nothing bad to say about him. He's great friends with the Big B Wolf, and of course he's a healer. Anyone who's watched anything before knows this guy is dead as soon as you hear he's coming. He's done. It's the most obvious thing in the world. He's only been introduced to be killed. He's got no personality other than being nice and being friends with people, and also in the sense of the game, you gotta kill the healer. So when he did obviously die, was anyone even remotely surprised? Anyone on the entire planet? It's the same with the rest of these S-rank hunters from Japan, instantly recognizable as red shirts. We already have a gaggle of local S-ranks that have basically done nothing. You think these guys are gonna show up and do actually anything? No, the show has made it more than obvious what it does. Its only way to write tension is to kill more and more powerful humans. And you know this kind of show doesn't have the balls to actually kill the characters that have been established, because if they did, one, they've been around and haven't done anything, so like why were they even here eating up screen time? And two, the writer would have to introduce another character to fill their vapid role. And we know they're not going to take the time to do that because this is the Jinoo show. I always try to find the good and the bad, so let's talk about what I think was cool, no matter how brief it may be. I think it's a cool idea to have him be able to summon his old enemies to fight for him, though I'm pretty sure he might get sued by Nintendo if they catch wind. What else? I mean, the show's an easy watch, just flies by, but I don't think that's a really big positive. When I had to sit down and watch Vinland Saga, no matter how lame it sounds to say, I did have to think, alright, big day, gotta watch Vinland Saga and take notes on it and think about it. With Solo Leveling, it was the opposite. It felt like an easy day. And there are room for shows that don't make you think all that hard, but they should probably make you think, like, at all. There's got to be something more. It's kind of funny that it's involved gamer culture so much that Jinoo can just AFK now, but even that takes away what little possible tension there could be in the fights of actual danger of him being hurt. I'm honestly surprised the Black Ant wasn't defeated by using a safe spot. The Black Ant represents the power gap problem so perfectly. He effortlessly kills all of the S-rank hunters, no problem, styles on them, and is about to kill all of the ones we're actually familiar with, but then Jinoo shows up and defeats him. And we learn later that Jinoo wasn't even using his best gear. He beat the most impossibly powerful enemy anyone had ever seen, and he didn't even have to try. What is anyone watching this show for? Is it really to just put yourself in his shoes so you can feel powerful? Now, I know this show isn't aimed at me, obviously. If you've listened to this entire video, that is blatantly apparent. But I've been there to some degree. I'm not innocent of taking in media and feeling empowered by it, even though it's bad. Dragon Ball Z was my entire childhood. I fucking loved that shit, and I still do, honestly, even though I think it's pretty bad now. My love for it is still there. I know what a cumber is, and I know what a Tapion is, and I know what a monster carrot is, Dragon Ball fans, so don't come at me like I don't run in these circles. I just know in my heart of hearts, Dragon Ball is not high art. I was that kid that daydreamed of, what if I turned into a Super Saiyan in front of anyone? They would have to respect me because I'd be so cool. I didn't even daydream about beating up the kids that gave me a hard time. I just thought it would make me so cool. So I know the feeling. I get why kids and young men can see this kind of thing and feel good because a quiet, passive kid became the strongest there is. Not even just respected, but admired by everyone. But there's something so slimy about this show and the way it does it. It targets the center of your brain that wants to be praised and loved, that wants to be the coolest, the most capable, the most violent, and least emotional. And that's all it does. It barely has time to tell a story around it. Maybe the show's got me hook, line, and sinker. Could you imagine if this show turned out to be about how cultivating these personality traits and this power actually leads to Jinwoo not being a good person, worth respect or admiration, and he has to actually grow as a person rather than as a video game character? If it did something like that and this was all just set up, and assuming it did it well, I would eat all of my words. That would be an insane turn. I would be floored. But I don't think we're gonna go that way. It really does feel like a middle schooler daydreaming in class about just being the strongest, coolest anime character ever. But they're not a very creative middle schooler, so they just fill in all the blanks with a generic hero ranking system, a generic normal world with a generic video game RPG magic system stapled to it, and generic video game monsters to defeat. And that daydreaming middle school kid really doesn't have any interest in actually writing about any of it. It's just a power fantasy that he's having because it's fun to think about, and who cares? It's in his own head, nothing matters, just think about being the coolest person ever. Okay, now rip all of that out of the 12-year-old's mind and make it into an actual anime. Surprise, the show's awful. Patron shoutouts. If you want to see a brand new video from me ahead of the YouTube release, you can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons, a flock of pancakes who can read QR codes with their naked eye, A2AX Phoenix who can actually speed up time if they're having fun, for real, Anthony Collins who calls his parents at least once a week so they don't worry, God bless him, Insomnite who has never been able to unleash their full power at Bocce Ball, a worthy challenger has never arisen, Prefin who tried to click their heels together once and broke both their ankles but still walked it off because like fuck man, there were cool people watching, Kevin Barlin who I can't tell if they keep leaving the fuck you money tier and rejoining it or if they are just perhaps some sort of mind demon that my brain is trying to fend off every few weeks and refusing to see, Midnight Balsams who drew those weird Nazca lines that all those archaeologists are all confused over, they just banged them out on a Sunday where they didn't have anything going on, and Tater of Tots who was a ghostwriter for an actual ghost, and my other fuck you money patrons, Blanco, Potato Stream, The Former Meaning of Life, The 1am Party, and Whitrow. Now for the next part, I know it's usually just God Overanalyzers next, but Patreon really fucked me with this. I used to just cross-reference this list that I have of my patrons, and I just went down the list on Patreon because they listed it all in nice alphabetical order so that I could just cross-reference it and see who's still there, who left, who joined, you know what I mean? And it was easy, it was nothing to it. But now Patreon doesn't do it alphabetically, they just do it completely arbitrarily. I don't know what they're doing. But there's a way to export all of the names from your Patreon list, the active people. And so I take those and then I put them into an alphabetizer online. But I don't know, this is my first time doing it this way. So if you don't see your name or I don't read your name off, let me know. I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm trying, it's a new thing. Anyway, God Overanalyzer, Two Boots Are Beat, Ang, Andrew Watcher, Blade Dancer, Carlo Wren, Code Kanad, Cosmic Newbie, Danny Stevens, Dr. Xerox, Dominic Saint, Emma, Aaron Grace, Jax Hun, Jeremy Rubenstein, John Warhammer, Kreffin, Kirill Magnus, Mac, Marshall Rather, Matthew Lang, Michael Fellin, Mitchell Gobrecht, Nicholas Abbott, Oathkeeper 13, Peter Bayron, Philip Jindra, Rocket Miss, Ryan Maxwell, Scoobert, Shane Antonacci, Princess Useless Backwards, Super Snipper, That Blind Ginger, and oh my god, what the fuck did the alphabetizer do to it? It's some sort of bareface. That's what it turned into. Side note, if anyone knows how to highlight a list of text and then turn it all into uppercase, if there's some sort of command for that Google won't tell me, please comment that, because I don't know, maybe there's more personality to the list when it's not all capitalized. You get to see how people capitalize their names, you know? Maybe I'll leave it like this. Next up, something entirely different.